Now let's start building that triangulated shape that will give our structure to our space frame, as we've discussed in the lecture component of this course. So I'm going to go back to the frame unit, and actually I'm going to go to wireframe so we can see through it. And we're going to make some reference lines. So this is a little bit involved, but just follow along. I think you'll have no problems. So the first thing I want to do is put some reference points on the bottom reference plane so that we can draw some kind of an X or set of pipes going across. So I'm going to go ahead and try to roll until I get to the center. A triangle will show up when I'm there. I'll click and place a point, and I'm just going to walk around this whole thing and place these 4 points. And notice how I'm waiting for the triangle to show up. Now we're going to draw some reference lines between those points. And I have chain on, so I'm just going to turn that off and start another line again. And actually I'm doing this one in 2 parts because, well, it doesn't matter. We can do it either way. You'll see as we move along. Next thing I need are these kind of the really triangulated shapes. So once again, I'm going to grab the reference line and draw from here to here. And we don't have the chain command on, so I'm going to restart it and click it over to here. I'll come up to here, grab this point, and come down and touch that point. And I'll do the same thing again and come to this point. So now let's just check out what we've done. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the center mouse button so I can rotate around a little bit. And I'm going to move some of these components to make sure that we've got adaptive behavior happening here. And it all looks pretty good. So I'm going to undo all of that with Control Z till it's back lying flat. Now we're ready to actually kind of extrude out some of the pipe shapes. So I'll do that on these top pieces first. So I'm going to just zoom in here and I'm going to place a point on that line. If you hit reference, it goes there. So I'm going to place a point there. Actually, I'm going to go through and I'm going to just place all the points right now. These are just random points that we need in order to create some circles. And then I'll start placing some circles, which will be the extruded pipe. So I'm going to grab the circle tool. I can make these as references, I believe, and I'm going to set a working plane first. So I'm going to roll onto this until this looks correct. Now if I hold and rotate, you can see how that plane is working, and that's the correct way for it to have that orientation. So I just want to make sure I set that. Let me go back and do that again. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw a circle. And I'll leave it as a model line. I don't think it really makes any difference. We're going to do that 3 inches in diameter. So that one is created. And now we can actually extrude that. So I'm going to grab the circle, hold down the Control key, and grab these 2 reference lines. And that's going to create a form across all of those surfaces. There we go. And now we're going to do the same thing over on this side over here. So actually we'll kind of rotate around here a little bit, give you a little better visualization. So let's once again set the reference plane for this circle. And then I'm going to grab the circle tool. And that's a little too steep on the angle here. Let's try that one more time. And now I can touch that and pull out that 3 inches. And we'll go ahead and extrude that out. So I'm going to grab, let me zoom out here a little bit. I'm going to grab the 2 reference planes. Oops, sorry. Holding down the Control key and the circle. And we're going to go ahead and create a form. And then we're going to do the same thing for the bottom one. So actually, let me just rotate around here. Once again, we're going to set a reference plane and draw a circle. Oh, I hit 3 inches. Then we can go ahead and grab that circle and the single reference line. I'm going to go ahead and create a form. And then we're going to do that one more time in the other direction. I'm going to set our reference plane and then a circle. Oops. Let's try that again. Once again, if anytime you're having problems, take a note of what is active on the screen that I have there in case yours might differ. So that's 3 inches. And then once again, I made 2 reference lines here, so I'm going to hold this one. And I'm going to also grab this one. So we have 3 common elements. We'll go ahead and create that solid form. Okay, so now I'll go back to, I guess, a realistic rendering of it. And we'll kind of rotate around so you can see what it looks like. And then the last thing I want to do is go ahead and check out these adaptive elements to make sure that they're behaving adaptively. And sometimes I'll get a little error or tweak like I did with the 4th one there. And I've been able to ignore that warning saying it's a little out of inaccurate. We may have just deformed it more than it's capable of. And then I'm going to just settle this back down again onto the plane by just doing Control-Z. Now that I'm sure that everything works. And we'll go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to load that back into our project, the full frame, not the, excuse me, we're going to load it back into our conceptual mass element, the full frame. So I'll click OK. It's going to overwrite the existing version, which is fine. And we're going to need to give this a second because it's populating a relatively complicated kind of a surface. It's asking to save it. That's fine. And there we have our grid system. And quite impressive for the amount of work. I know it might felt a little tedious to start with, but yeah, we can modify this shape to be anything we want and then quickly repopulate. So I think next we'll look at making the adaptive column.